So let's move on. Let's talk about actually integrating the things. If you do have a development team, you are going to have to get things integrated. And I want to give you a couple quick tips which will enable you to do this really, really fast. Now, the first one is don't be afraid to pair with a developer. This is something that I learned years ago when I was at code school. Pair programming is something developers should do more often. Simply put, they get one monitor, one computer, two keyboards, and they sit there and they code together. Now, they're not both just hacking away, writing things down. What's happening is they're actually collaborating on the code. So one developer may write, another developer may think about it in a different way, and they actually say, hey, what about if I thought about it this way? And they'll write the code. These two minds work together to give you better code. Now, what's crazy to me is that the marketer does not go with the engineer and sit with them when they're writing this code. It may take the engineer 8 hours to implement something pretty simple for you to get out of tracking, but if you're not there and they run into a roadblock, that's going to be a roadblock, and they're just going to figure it out, and it may not be the way that you had envisioned it. So don't be hesitant to say to the development team, hey, while you're doing this, I would love to sit with you and help. I'm not going to do everything, but I want to make sure I can be there in case if you have any questions. It would also be great if I could learn a little bit more about Ruby on Rails and the way this is done, so next time I can do this better for you. So don't be hesitant to do that. It's actually a service offering at our company. We offer large companies to pair program with one of our engineers, so when their engineers go to code, they do it correctly and they make less mistakes. Mistakes equal dirty data. Nobody wants mistakes. Very, very important. Now, what I want you to also understand is that once it goes into the code, you need to push this to staging. Do not push this to production. Make sure that you test all of your code on a staging environment and then audit it using a live view. Almost every analytics tool has a live view. When you're actually going through the site on staging, you can click all the buttons and then watch the events come in, such as page viewed, page viewed, page viewed. We can actually see who this is. Is this us? Is this somebody else? But what we want to do is make sure that the spelling is correct on the event name, the correct properties are coming through on that. We want to make sure that everything makes sense across all of the events. You should never push to production until everything has been completely audited, because the last thing we want to do is make a mistake. Now, something I need to make sure that you understand is that once it's in analytics, it's always in analytics. Analytics does not have a little eraser on it where you can erase one thing. The only thing you can do is reset the whole account, and nobody wants to reset their whole account. So make sure that you audit it in staging before you ever push to production. Now, let's make sure that we focus in on what are you auditing. Right? Now, this on the right-hand side is going to be Kissmetrics Live View, just a little bit different than Mixpanels. The first thing that we want to do is we audit every event name and every property name for spelling. Really simple. We also want to check capitalization. A lot of people forget this. They'll put signed up with a capital S in one spot, and then they'll put signed up in another spot with a lowercase s. Analytics looks at everything with capitalization, so these two things would be different. So we want to make sure that we check the capitalization. It's in our recommendation that everything on an analytics spec and everything you do in analytics should be lowercase. You should never use capital letters ever. I've seen people do camel casing. I've seen people do all caps. I've seen people do capital first letters. And every time I see that, somebody makes a mistake. Always make everything in analytics lowercase. It will save you a lot of hassle, a lot of problems, and you don't have to reach over that little pinky and hit the shift button anymore, right? Everybody's got to reach over that pinky to get the shift button. Now, hey, do this all in a test account like I said. Make sure that you're doing this on staging because I don't want you to mess up your data. Nothing goes into production that's honest or until it's audited. Now, of course, once it's in, it's in. Don't fuck it up. It's important. It's really, really important. You do not want to mess up your data. You cannot get rid of it. Cool. Now that you've put it in staging and you've had a chance to audit it, make sure everybody is cool with it. Walk around the office and tap people on the shoulder and say, look at this awesomeness I've created. I want to make sure that you appreciate it. Do you think this makes sense? You should have done much of this when you were reviewing your spec, but now that it's actually in the code, we also want to make sure that everybody's cool, everybody checks off. CEO, CMO, yourself, and even the engineer that wrote the code, and possibly the product manager. Make sure everybody's happy. Now, the next stage in that might be a little obvious. I want you to hit deploy, right? You probably don't have the power to hit deploy, but your developers do, right? Deploy that data and then analyze it, right? This is going to be some of the most important things that you can do for your business, which is understand your metrics. Now, what I want you to do is understand your traffic. Platforms like Google Analytics make this super, super easy. That's the reason why everybody should have Google Analytics. Analytics. You need to measure your traffic. You need to know who's coming to your site, how they got there, which pages do they land on, what is the behavior flow at which people use your site. There's so many cool things about Google Analytics that people just get overwhelmed with. If you distill it down and focus on the fact that it's all about the traffic that comes to your site, it'll make it a lot easier for you to analyze. Now, I do have one cool thing which just came out earlier this week. If you get the Google Analytics mobile app, it has the new assistant, which is literally machine learning and figuring out what things are happening on your account. I just found out that our site had a 22% increase in traffic in the past week from TechCrunch. I would have never have seen that just like sifting through data. But because of this new assistant feature, it was brought to me as a notification. It was like the coolest thing ever. Download the Google Analytics app and then check out Assistant. It's really, really rad. Really, really awesome. Now, another report you want to look at is going to be cohorts. And this is a mixed panel cohort report. Simply put, cohorts are buckets of people. So let's say myself. I graduated high school in 2003. That means I was in the cohort of 2003, the graduating class. Now, if you look at cohort 2004 and 2005, there's different things about each of our cohorts. Those kids that were 2 years ahead of me, they were stupid and they didn't do anything with their lives. The kids right ahead of me, they did pretty good. My class, 2003, we were awesome. We all went on and did amazing things. I don't know what happened between the different cohorts, but because we put these three different groups of people in cohorts, we can measure that. Your analytics tool can do the same exact thing. You can put people in cohorts by the date that they signed up. You can put them in cohorts by the date that they subscribed. You can even put them in cohorts by properties that we know about those people. But what we want to understand with a cohort report is typically retention. Once somebody's in a cohort report, do they keep coming back to the platform on a weekly basis, maybe a monthly basis? What you'll see in this one is we're looking at the number of days the users were retained. So in the first day, we retained roughly 60-something, 90-something%. But one day later, we had nobody. And then 2 days later, we had even less. This is 7% of 394 people that came back. And what we can see is this deteriorates over time. Now, this product, which is one of mine, Fuelsy, does a really job bad at retaining clients. So not that good of a thing, but at least we can identify it in cohorts. Definitely something you need to use for your business. Now, next is going to be funnel reports. Everybody needs a funnel report. I don't know of an analytics platform that doesn't have a funnel report. Funnel reports are key to your business because it helps us understand each step of the sales process. So once again, they visited the homepage, they visited the pricing page, and then they finally subscribed. Now, an important thing to remember with the funnels is it does not mean that they did these actions one after the other. Now, if I'm measuring a funnel, it's called viewed homepage, viewed sign-up page, and then signed up. That does not mean that other things didn't happen in between. There's a concept known as a loose funnel. So in other words, they viewed the homepage, they then went to the FAQ page, they then went over to the support page, they then went back to the website, went to the homepage, and then they went over to the viewed sign-up page. Now, they met all of those criteria, right? Now, let's say they went from viewed sign up, they then went to the pricing page, they then went to the FAQs page again, and then they went and signed up. Because they still did those two actions in consecutive order, one after the other, even though there was things in the middle, it would still appear in this funnel. So make sure you take that into consideration when reviewing your funnels. These are simply saying this event happened once, and then this event happened after, and then this event happened after that. Now also do some research on the way your analytics tool thinks about funnels. The way that Kissmetrics thinks about funnels compared to the way that Amplitude thinks about funnels is very different. And you want to make sure you know that. So when you analyze the data, you actually have insights. Now, of course, the most important metric you probably should be measuring is money. I don't care about much, but I definitely care about money. Dom will tell you, I only care about making my clients money. I don't care about leads. I don't care about signups. I don't care about registrations. I care about when money goes in the bank. I treat my business the same way. So you need to make sure that you're worried about your money. Without money, you're out of business. I don't care how much VC money you raise. You could be like Uber. If you don't become profitable one day, you're still going to go out of business. Money is key. Now, if you watch the money that comes in, you can maybe go raise some more VC money if that's your goal. I'm not a big VC fan, but you can be. It doesn't bother me. Now, with this, if this is a mixed panel, this is a mixed panel revenue report. What we're able to do is understand how many customers we have, what is the average money that a customer pays us, and then what is our total revenue in this period. Now, there's other cool things that you can do, such as understand the lifetime value of a customer, and then as well as understand where that lifetime value comes. In this one, I'm looking at lifetime value by channel, and we can see that this channel right here did not always do good, and now is doing really bad. But this purple channel, for some reason, recently spiked its lifetime value. What this is going to do is be the leading indicator for me saying, hey, I need to go focus on this channel more. If we notice that Facebook is driving our highest lifetime value customers, Well, we should probably spend more time or money on Facebook. If we notice that Twitter is driving no lifetime value customers, we should probably stop spending money or time on Twitter, right? These are all pretty self-explanatory things once you find out what these metrics are and start tracking them. Now next, this is a report that's only going to be offered really inside a Mixpanel. It's the segmentation report. I do really like it. It enables me to look at one event and then see all the properties from a property name that break it out. So for an example, this was visits to our site by ad network. And what we'll notice is we have BrightRoll, Tapjoy, Facebook, AdMob, Twitter ads. We're able to actually understand how people are getting to our site and then what is that breakup. What we can notice is Twitter ad drives the least amount of page views while BrightRoll is killing it. Right? So now what I would want to do is then look at which one of these is driving the best conversions, because potentially BrightRoll drove 2 conversions while Twitter drove 100. Which one would you invest into? The one that's driving more conversions with less traffic, or the one that's driving less conversions with more traffic? Probably going to focus on the one that has more conversions. Now with that being said, as I mentioned earlier, you shouldn't be doing all of this at once. Break it up into little steps, little sprints, and then go at it like that. It's really, really important that you repeat this over and over and over again and not try to do it all in one long slog. I've worked with clients where we have spent a year building out their analytics stack just to make sure that it's done correctly instead of making it all get done in 2 months. And don't get me wrong, we could have done it in 2 months. They would have never have used the data. They would have never have found value. They would have seen every single report and been like, there's way too much here. So by breaking it down into smaller pieces, we're able to give them one metric that matters per month, and then they were able to build insights and create action and actually do something with that data. Just like I said before, metrics are all about creating action inside of your organization. If you can't create actions with the metric, what's the point of tracking it? Thank you very much. This has been really, really awesome. I appreciate it, Dom. Let me know how else I can help.
Cool. That was awesome. That's such a thorough presentation.
Thanks, man.
Really, really great. Hey, do you really quick, will you stop sharing your screen and we'll both come back split screen and I'll do some questions?
Absolutely.